All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves our first trip back into the fog here for week number 4. And we are going to be here on the Wrecker's Yard, going to be seeing the Huntress out here. You can see, obviously, trying to work very quickly into our corrupt side of the map, trying to find our first survivor here, Dyer. And I feel like with some of the changes to this map, opens things up a little bit more, which really puts stress on this first chase here, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We have seen great things being done from our players, especially on the new edge map palettes. I remember when Behavior introduced them, a lot of people, you know how the community works. It sucks.
It's strange, I can't do it. Yeah.
It's so strange, but when you get your hands on this and when you practice with them, we have seen such intense chases on the outside or the outscore of the Wrecker's Yard. So I really like the idea, actually. And we do see that iPic is doing really well on this broken fun bus here as well. Takes a hit now. It's the mind game coming out, but iPic just holding W and actually leaving entirely now in the open, though. So that should be a quick down, except we see an absolute edge map action.
Kyle gonna try and use the infinite. Unfortunately, gonna get caught in the window though. First down coming in. I wouldn't say super quick, doing a good job of at least being able to delay it just a little bit here, right? Dyer also doing a good job of making sure to kind of put themselves back into the corrupt side of the zone. So doing a good job with that first chase. Also, obviously with it being Wrecker's Yard, you want to make sure you're staying away from the middle of the map with that basement being there. So, I would say a pretty good first chase for not having too much time on their hand.
Yeah, talking about the time, right? We do see a little bit of efficiency here on this generator, but Sequence will need to find a good response, especially depending on what Givex is going to do. And it seems like he doesn't want to leave iPic here, so he wants to take the benefit of getting a relatively quick down, getting the second stage in. We do see Swatter now rotating over to this generator, already 70% as well. So Sequence definitely very, very fast on these gens. We do see one person rotating in. That's going to be a snipe attempt, but the survivor already around the corner here, but they are caught now. And Givex has a lot of information now. I do think he is aware where all 3 survivors are.
Yeah, you have some map location information here. Also, you have the benefit of where this hill sits, right? Where it has the entry on the backside. So even when you happen to see Givex try to jump off the hill just a little bit to put pressure onto this gen, you know it's going to take quite a bit of time to be able to rotate over to get the save. So that is going to be iPic going to a second stage here, but you have to realize that these survivors getting quite a bit of time on these generators. I think they're going to be okay with just letting their friend hang out right now.
Yeah, gens before friends. That's something iPic is going to experience right here. Feels like the solo queue experience you usually have, but this is now going to be Givex. Actually, it seems like he wants to secure the kill, which wouldn't be the worst idea. They are on 3 generators still. Even if they pop 2 more, you are playing 3 versus 1 with 1 generator remaining. So we still see the benefit of the early down coming in the first half of the game here. So having still impact, Givex trying to anticipate that the survivor would leave the generator to the side, but that didn't happen. We do see 80% over here. Seth already rotating, 40% here. It doesn't look too bad for Team Karma.
Yeah, Karma's looking pretty solid, especially too depending on where this next chase goes, right? Because we know that gen over by the buses has a decent amount of progress. This gen even has a little bit. I don't know if that's going to be able to be enough to keep Givex over on this like kind of corner of the map, because if they do break up at least the 3 gen that's with the side on the bus, plus the one that's over on that car wall, there's nothing end game wise for Givex to be able to play around. So you need to make sure that you keep pressure on both of these gens here.
Yeah, especially with the no way out, right? You mentioned it, the end game will be rough. You need this time that perk offers. You have to agree there. So you minimum need 1 more survivor. But we already see the next chase. Swatter is coming in here. Nice dodged 2 times, anticipating that the Huntress would wait a little bit and then just holding W, mixing up the movement in order to confuse the killer. Will drop the pallet now, but still taking a little bit of distance here. Will make 1 more turn, but now it's going to be rough. You can't vault in the straight line, and that should be the down now coming out from Givex. We have another generator completed, potentially a 4th one coming in. A reload is needed very soon as well, so Sequence getting a little bit of time here, but at the same time Karma with the 2nd stack now of the no way out. So things are looking solid on both ends, I would say. I like how Sequence is tackling this, how they're answering with quick generators, but the next chase, I feel like whoever is taking it for Sequence needs to last quite long.
Well, here's the problem though too, right? At least as far as on the side for Givix here is this survivor was able to push all the way to the opposite side of the map. So this hook is going to be away from where the gens that they need to be defending. So they don't really have the ability to be able to just protect the hook. I wouldn't be surprised to see this unhook coming in here relatively soon, which gives Givix kind of a decision on their hand. Do they go back and try to go for that additional hook stage? Because obviously Swatter's not going to be able to get reset here, which then in turn gives our additional survivor over within that 3-gen time to be able to bang one of those out. Once you break up that 3-gen, even in the 2-on-1, one solid run still at least allows you to complete the gens, which sets you up in a really good time, like win condition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And for both teams, the first win condition or how you're starting this first trial is incredibly important. Both of them really need the win here. So having a good first trial, starting off with a good feeling is very important. I really like this pre-drop here by Swatter and then able to dodge the hatchet. Givex a little bit off with the aiming there. Will he get it now? No, Swatter still in time using the absolute maximum out of this loop, especially after dropping the pallet. It's quite rough and he goes for another turn and now forced to break the pallet. That also prevents Bloodlust from kicking in. So our survivor now eventually going down, but that was quite a long run leading into the last generator. We do have 2 stacks of No Way Out agitation coming in as well. They haven't touched it. I was just about to say maybe there comes another stack in, but they touched it now. But if you secure another fresh hook, you would feel quite okay on the side of Karma.
Yeah, you'd be feeling decent here as far as your performance, but unfortunately, though, you're not able to get all the way to the basement. Getting a little risky here. You do have... Oh, and now the Shack pallet was still left up as well. It's going to allow Swatter to be able to build some distance, and you'll see Swatter going to put Givix in a situation where they need to make a decision. They're going to chase the injured survivor, but that is quite a bit away from the other doors and with no way out. Now expiring, Givix is going to have to break up that chase if they want to keep any survivors in this trial, really.
Yeah, this is rough now, right? I understand he wanted the basement to secure this one, but at the same time you wanted another fresh hook, right? So why not just hooking in the open area and then going quickly towards the exit gate? Now you kind of lost everything. You did lose the survivor you already had down. You also lose the pressure on the ones. Yeah, you can stand here now in the middle between the exit gates, but first you need to hit a snipe. Second, you still need to travel the distance towards the exit gate to finish off what you started with the injury. And I do think that Sequence is taking a little bit of extra time to reset Swatter wherever they are right now. So they are not going to send an injured survivor over to the exit gates. They actually do. Swatter is even opening this injured. This man has no fear at all. He's checking it, sees that it's the Adam he already had, so he really wants the fresh hook, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned if that works out, and I'm afraid we might see only 1 kill at all.
Yeah, but I think, did Givix see X-Eyes over here? Yeah, sees at least 1 survivor here. It's actually going to be Seth that gets found. I think that's going to be one of our fresh hook survivors here, right? Which would be the more points handed over if you can get them. I guess Swatter also would have been fresh hook, but regardless here, now at this point, with this being a fully healthy survivor, we got doors open. Might be able to see our survivors team. No, I was going to say try and go for the... He got this! It's going to go to the head! There's no way!
Oh! Is that going to work out? No, just a few centimeters. And Q, I'm telling you, this is so important for Team Karma because they were so close of losing both options. The survivor that was already down, that struggled off, and the survivor that he wanted. So getting this fresh hook in is really, really important and bringing him to 7 stages, which is a great result. But hell, that was close.
That would have been a big point swing too, right? That would have been so huge to be able to get that out the door. Perfect, like honestly, really good thinking. Almost kind of wish you would have thought about that play before going towards the pallet, right? Because if you would have just started heading towards the actual shack, then had him going out the door, you would have already had the lead going towards the actual hatch itself. But still, man, great performance from our survivors here. Yeah. Awesome start to this series.
Absolutely, and that was a great start. Sequence kicking it off with quite confidence, 7 stages. Karma with a good performance as well, especially luckily getting the fresh hook in was important as well. I feel like 7 stages is a typical result that it can go either way. And that's what we're looking for in Season 8. Equal teams fighting with equal condition and setting themselves up for a surprise. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for you after a short break. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second trial between Sequence and Karma. This time it's iPic himself on the Huntress with a similar perk build than the previous trial. We do see the no way out, so we want to get some fresh hooks during the trial. And same as before, we do have a quick injury, and if that results in a quick down, that would be a brilliant start for Team Sequence.
Yeah, you can see those Survivor doing a great job of making sure they're burying themselves back into this corrupt. Oh, well, now it's really close. Burying themselves back up into this corrupt zone, really maybe allowing the rest of the survivors to at least start digging into these gens a little bit, greeting the pound a little bit, at least one time around. You can see iPic trying to make the mind games here, try and put themselves into that 50-50 to be able to get the win at the pallet. But once again, respecting it here, allowing this chase to go longer, get stunned stupid, plus 10 wood at dawn. Not like, what?
Oh, that would have been dirty, right? That would have been such a dirty answer from the killer here if that stun would result into that. I really loved that one. But Killade is juicing.
Yeah, right now, really serving up the juice. Oh, unfortunately, going to get the little side of the actual loop itself there. That's going to cause a reload, which makes this chase go even longer. If you'll notice in that bottom right-hand corner, Corrupt Intervention almost up there. So we know that we've been in this trial for about 90 seconds. So the fact that you've been able to keep a majority of the whole of this chase here back in this Corrupt side of the gens, you might be seeing 2, maybe even 3 gens popping here shortly, Dyer.
Absolutely, yeah. 3 gens might actually be done. And especially because the first gen is waiting so long, right? That usually tells us that it's individual survivors working on the objectives. There's number 1, Killade now going down, going to be the first stack of No Way Out as well. But we should see minimum 1 additional generator right here. There's the second, and this one is really close as well. But the agitation coming in clutch. Also now the regression coming in from the Scorchhook Pain Rest. So Ace maybe taking a little bit too much risk here, now being injured as well. That takes a little bit of time to reset him. Now iPic with a difficult decision though. Yeah, you could camp plus watching the generator, but I do feel like you don't have time for that anymore.
No, Givix finished that gen. There are 3 gens.
Did he in the back? Oh yeah!
Yeah, so he ended up sticking the gen, which is huge because now iPic can't camp this gen. Yeah, you can't camp this thing now because there's nothing around this hook. Great job by the survivors to be able to get those 3 gens pounded out here. But now, the question becomes, can you safely get the unhook? Because now you're in a decision here, especially now with the M1 across onto Trauma. That's going to be now 2 survivors not safe to come in for the unhook. However, you do have the ability to just sit on the gens here because you can split up and have them done before the death ends up coming across.
Yeah, see, Karma is preparing gens quicker than I can realize what's happening in the trial. That's something you need to get done. Yeah, and also the spread of the generators is quite good. We do have the 2 generators right here, but there's one on the outside and there's one next to the hook. So it's not really a tight 3-gen either that iPic can work with. We have this little car wall in between as well, breaking line of sight. So for Karma, a very, very good setup here. If they especially break one of these generators out, then they are in an absolute fantastic spot. They are already working on it. They have to watch out though, but Trauma here being careful enough to not take the hatchet, leaving the area as well. iPic would need one of these snipes really, really badly, but Karma playing careful enough to not allow that. But maybe they want to think about a reset. Even that is coming in now. Killade receiving the heal, and Givex going down towards the corner. 4 hook stages after this one. That was a nice one here by iPic, making things very, very quick and clear. But I still feel like Sequence has a good chance. We're only 4 stages away.
Yeah, I want to see that gen that Trauma was working on. When we were over there, we heard that it had quite a bit of progress. And we know that Trauma left the gen that was on the Pride Rock. but we can see the heal hasn't come across, which makes me believe that they're sitting back on this gen trying to grind this thing out. However, on iPick's peripherals, yeah, we don't see it there. They are actually getting the reset, but this 3 gen is still going to be in play for iPick here. So as much as the early game, a little bit of a struggle, you do get to regain control of things because that 3 gen that was set up by that corrupt, when you had those first 3 gens pop pretty well in sequence, no pun intended. But you saw now you can protect these 3 over here. You can kind of vibe as long as you don't allow them to sink into the gens like they're doing now.
I mean, if you're taking too long as iPick to down the survivors, then you get your karma, and then the generators are flying left and right. And we see this change in the strategy as well, right? We have seen a very aggressive iPick that was going across the Wrecker's yard, chasing the survivors off. Now we see a very, very different approach, which is very understandable because they have managed to go down inside of this somewhat of a 3-gen iPick in a good position here with Givex, able to watch 2 generators minimum, doesn't need to worry too much about the generator over there because it didn't have the much progress last time he checked it, so they would need to double up quickly, and he knows that he has a little bit of time. So we do catch the Fang here as well, Givex in the second stage as well now, so things are working out towards sequence, and this headshot is going to land as well, and this is the moment where Karma seems to fall apart a little bit.
2 tapped just like that, and now you're in a decision. I was going to wonder where iPick put the Fang here, just because you were wondering if maybe potentially go back into the 3-gen, but I like the idea of going into the basement, right? Because now it's going to take longer to get this survivor here. iPick has the ability to now put pressure back into the 3-gen. We saw them reset very, very quick, which means there was more than likely 2 people over there, which means they weren't working on any gens. So iPick reloads here, has the ability to still monitor these gens while still being pretty close to this basement at the same time.
And now I'm really interested to see what Karma is going to do, because if Trauma would die in the basement, we already have the 7 stages from the previous trial. So they need a generator, they need a save, they need resets, and they need a good plan for the end game, because we have 3 stacks of no way out at this point. Kate is going into the next chase here. iPick losing a little bit of time because Kate also able to throw him off with the movement a little bit. Trauma still in the basement, only a few seconds, but they do get the reset and the rescue now. But are they going to make it in time? The headshot is up, and he knows that one survivor is still down here. Let's find them. Ace is going to take this one, and we know how it ends on the Huntress. That's a 2-tap. So Givex staying down here, and I think iPick is just going to chill. With 3 stacks of no way out, you don't need to worry too much.
Yeah, you got the 3 stacks. Well, I guess you aren't going to be hanging out here. Really wouldn't make too much. I didn't realize he was dead hook, actually. Now, though, with the 3 stacks, you have the ability to find one of these other survivors. I'm trying to remember, one of these survivors is still fresh hook, right?
Yeah, I think the Kate?
Kate? I think so, yeah. So if you could find the Kate here, that'd be huge.
Yeah, that's when you are a Kate main, then you are dangerous. I can only tell you.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, right? Because No Way Out expires now, so if Karma is hopping quickly onto these exit gates, then they will be in a good spot. This pallet here is still up. It's quite a strong one, and if they then come over, throw their bodies in, they might be able to make it out here. So Karma still with a very good chance making it around this corner as well, and they are 100% on the other door already, and we are seeing that our survivor has quite some difference. We need 2 tags on this survivor. This one is missing as well. Q, that looks like a 3-man escape.
Yeah, let's not forget this is the survivor that surfed the juice there in the beginning, right? So even if you get the one there, they're going to be already out the door. That's 1, 2, 3 survivors out the door here for Karma. And talk about a huge turn for them. And it's going to be able to be just enough. I do believe we'll have to wait for a confirmation on the score, but I think that's going to be enough for them to be able to take the dub in set 1.
Yeah, 33-30. Karma is going to take it. Absolutely insane. I was honestly not expecting that. When they were with the basement hook there, then the 2-tap onto Givex. Maybe iPick losing track and not being aware that Givex was only worth 1 stage as well. I'm not entirely sure, but it definitely did not look like a turn for Karma. So even more exciting that they actually pulled it. The question now, Q, as Team Sequence taking such a last second loss, I would say, because iPick had all reasons to feel confident there, and now going on the killer side straight again on the Mastermind. What's your plan for the next one?
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is their pick, right? And this kind of goes back to where you and I were confused going into things. You know what I mean? Where we kind of thought that the Huntress would have been Sequence's pick, so maybe not such a big deal here. You probably have a pretty good game plan already set up. I think the big thing is you have to have a really bad short-term, or a really bad short-term memory, right? You just go ahead and forget about set number 1. Set 2 here, I mean, you're on the cold tower, you're comfortable. This is your pick on the Mastermind. I think you just make sure you delete set 1 out of your memory completely.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure now on the Sequence, and yeah, things seem to go like the teams planned it. Karma took what we didn't expect, so maybe Sequence takes what we said is maybe more into Karma's favor. It stays close, it stays exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the Mastermind after a short intermission.
All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog. We're going to be on the cold tower this time to start off set number 2, and we're going to be seeing General Blight out here on the Mastermind. Not exactly sure how that works here. Going to be pushing up into this top side of the map, and unfortunately, Givix actually ends up running right into them. Might be getting caught. Yeah, very, very quickly here. Nice play around the pallet to be able to get the first injured status, and since you've already opened up a little bit of the cold tower here, might allow for General Blight to get themselves a very quick down on this top side of the map.
And this looks quite dangerous here. Givx going down just a few seconds after loading into the comp tower here. Very, very great work by General Blight. This is how you're coming back when you just lost the first set by a little chunk. You need to be confident, you need to come in with a lot of pressure, and both is what General Blight is coming to bring onto Team Karma. And yeah, General Blight is actually the name of the player. For a second we were confused as well, but he seems to enjoy Blight and clearly Mastermind a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, you see a very quick down here is so big, and be able to get this middle hook too is going to be huge, right? You're going to be able to protect a couple of these gens that might have been exposed, to be able to get a little bit of work on here. And so, I mean, to be able to, you had talked about having to come out here after that first set, having to play killer right again, Dyer, and I think our squad gave you the answer.
Absolutely, yeah. And Givx seems to be the camped out survivor now. Absolutely understandable. If you do get a quick down like General Blight did, you have all the time to go for the camp. We do see 2 generators going to fly in exchange for this second stage, very likely. Also, the main generator being attacked is something I really like. It's usually the generator that takes a lot of time from the killer, because you always have to go upstairs when noticing that there's pressure coming in. Breaking the 3-gen here on the top side as well is really important. It might even be a 4-gen if we count this generator next to the hooked survivor in as well. So Karma needs to take care, and so far the 3-gen still standing.
Yeah, I mean, you have the 3-gen. Honestly, even you can kind of combine it in with the 4-gen, right? With this extra gen that's right by this hook, plus that typical 3-gen that's on the top side. And I mean, unless they're working on that generator that's up in that top left-hand side where a lot of our competitive players would call 11 over there, right? They could be in quite a bit of trouble, because then they'll already be in a 3v1. They'll have to break up this gen pressure here. It does look like they're going to get the save just in time, but now you're going to have 3 injured survivors. Easy decision here to go ahead and go for the tunnel out. The question is, can you build yourself enough distance, maybe prolong this down enough to be able to get one of those gens done on the top side of the map?
Now once again around this loop, and just missing Givx by a couple of inches here. He will be able to make it towards the shack. That was a very, very important juke right there. You are able to prevent the killer from tunneling you out for a very, very long time. But just as I spoke, I think I kind of jinxed it. That's going to be Givx going to...
Oh, wait, what was that slap? He slaps him with the D!
That was the most delayed... That was a very delayed D. That was a very delayed D slap over there. It might be the absolute last inch of the skill check that we have seen there. I was so confused for a second, and I'm glad that you were confused as well. But Givx now going down once and for all. That was an interesting one.
I was wondering if maybe he had walked by the locker or got close enough to the locker for a head-on or something, because it seemed like it was so late for a decisive strike. But obviously we saw that the change as far as of the obsession lets us know that's what it was. But we're now to that 3v1, 3 fully healthy survivors, 3 fresh hook survivors here as well. The question is, can this chase go long enough to be able to give yourself one of these gens to pop?
And this is now going to be a lot of pressure here as well. We do see left and right how they are quickly going for the gens, but with 3 survivors, you're not quite able to do it in the same way anymore. 2 survivors leaving the area here, so that means that only 1 survivor can currently work on these objectives. A good information for Sequence Killer, knowing that you have a little bit longer. We do see them going for the TNL now. A second survivor in the distance. Which one? Oh, almost catching the Fang. The very nice read by General Wright should be enough now to just apply an M1, and we do see them going towards the bottom side as well. General Wright needs to decide if he wants to commit or checking on the gens, but it seems like Sequence is choosing the aggressive strategy here.
Yeah, and you can understand why you'd want to take this chase towards the bottom side of the map as far as a survivor, which means now for General Blight, you needed this down very, very quickly. Instead, getting them ankles absolutely shattered here. Back at Shack, which is going to allow this chase to go even longer, which is going to give the time for the 2 healthy survivors here to be able to pound into those gens up on the top side of the map. We can see actually not even going to go for the window, able to see and read that thing very well. Has a pallet over here as well to be able to work around, and now time of the essence. And what a beautiful juke in the pallet as well.
Absolutely beautiful here. Trauma choosing on the Shack, exactly what Karma needs right now to put themselves in a good spot. That looked disgusting on the Survivor screen, I believe. That is one of these where I would shut down my PC, I believe, but luckily Trauma is not going to do that. We do see the exit gates on the top side more, and also very split, the main building breaking the line of sight, so very beautiful exit gates for our survivor team. I wouldn't even be surprised if they leave the team member behind you.
Yeah, it's one of those tough situations, right? Because obviously if you were already split up, then you know that your killer here is going to be looking for an additional fresh hook, so you may be able to get the save. And it looks like, since I don't see a Kate in sight, that just may be the case. Unfortunately, though, yeah, that's going to be the case. Actually, we have the unhook across the way. You can see the survivors already healthy, which means getting that big adrenaline value. Oh man, means they would have actually been just close to getting that Spees booth if they would be able to keep that other chase going just a little bit longer. But now you can see trying to stay up on their feet. I think it might just take the 2 out at this point, Dyer, because that's going to be another hook. It is going to be fresh hook. Should buy you enough time to be able to get out the far doors, though.
I agree, yeah. You do take all the seconds you get now, and the survivor team has gone some time for themselves. There's now going to be Khaled back on the hook, so you handed out another fresh hook, and now it's time to really leave here, not handing out more, unfortunately. Overall they need to watch out. Overall handing out 1 additional stage, comparing to just leaving the trial here. But again, 7 stages. We had that in the previous trial, and 7 stages worked out for Team Karma in a good way, so I think they can feel confident.
Yeah, I think those couple of middle chases, it's hard. It's obviously easy for us to say in retrospect, looking back, that maybe you shouldn't have taken chase down on the bottom side of the map, but you were also chasing a fresh hook, so I can kind of understand it. But it feels like you gave up so much map pressure that if you would have maybe gone back, it would have made the actual trial go longer. But I think you walk away with more hook stage. I feel like that might have cost them there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting though, right? Because when we're talking about these decision makings in the end game, we can tell, like, a lot of games don't even have this decision making because the teams are not able to force the killer in a difficult position. And Sequence and Karma are applying so much pressure during the mid game that the killer is forced in the end game to make such difficult decision, where it can come down to all survivors almost leaving to still ending in a 4K. So I really like what the teams are putting up here. We might have only 1 more trial, ladies and gentlemen, or Sequence is taking the 1-1 set point. So let's see what's happening after a short break. Is it going to be Karma taking the second set point and finishing off this best of 3 in a very dominant way, or Sequence finding a way back? We have seen 7 stages in the previous trial here across 3 survivors, so we need 8 stages on 3 survivors or 7 stages on all 4 in order to take the win right here. We already have the first survivor, and we do see that the survivors are still sorting their position out in the background, so not everyone's sitting on a generator just yet. Also good for Givex that Jake is kinda in the open area, and we do see that he's trying to work with the power and then going to get back from it. But we do see that Jungle Gym is in reach and head-on coming out here, so Sequence not joking around.
Yeah, able to put in a little bit of extra pressure here, build a little bit of additional distance on that first chase here as well, which now puts a little bit more pressure down on it to Givex here, because we're starting to get to about that 60-second marker that we've been into the trial. And because of that, you can actually see Givex decides to give up onto that chase, break down to this bottom side of the map and see if they might be able to find someone to get that first hit. Going into the shack here, trying to see if maybe they might be able to get that valuable resource down relatively early, but working this bigger part of the, working a stronger part of the map, like Shack here, could give Givex even more map pressure away to these survivors.
Yeah, this map pressure is something that's going to decide a lot, especially on the Coal Tower, where things and objectives are really tied together. Unfortunately, we see that Givex has no generator on the top right side here. They are both a little bit pulled towards the midsection, so you have to work with what comp players would call 12, 11, and then 9, the other corrupted gen here in the midsection. We do see that Excise is doing a good job, though. A nice mix of greeting and staying safe. Will drop the pallet right now and does hit the killer with the pallet and the flashbang or the firecrackers as well. So really, really well played here by the survivor, not even taking the injury. And that's exactly what you need right here. 4 healthy survivors, no hook stage yet, already a generator completed. This is how you take the set point.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming out and putting your best foot forward here, right? And now going back to the part of the map where you've got some pallets down here, for the survivor, such a brilliant move. Knows that you're going to be prolonging this chase, putting pressure down, causes Givex to have to overextend to try and get the down, and unable to do so. That time, as it continues to tick, is just more time for our survivors here to continue to crush into these generators. And honestly, Dyer, it's really looking good for him.
It absolutely looks good, yeah. This is iPick is also now, like, when you have a long chase, you build up so much confidence for yourself, and you just link these tiles together and you see that it works, you stun the killer, and also you're calling it out, right? You're calling it out how you're doing, that you're still at the next pallet. Your teammates realize you are in safety and that they have more time for this. iPick now going down after 3 generators have been completed. The Sequence on an absolute grind here, unfortunately not with the pallet save. That would have been the absolute top now if that would have happened as well. But we do see hook stage number 1 coming in onto iPick, and whatever Givex has in the back pocket, he needs to reveal it now, and he needs to do really, really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, the next chase needs to end almost immediately here, but unfortunately, we know that these survivors know what they're doing, right? We see that they're already pre-leaving, pre-dropping pallets as well to be able to create that separation between them and the Masterminds. Really going to be putting that extra pressure here on Givex. You can see and unfortunately it's caught up on the corner there as well. And unfortunately, we see Seth's has already made their way into that next tile, so Givex has no choice but to try and come over here and continue with the tunnel out. But the reset's already been done, which means even the tunnel out process, Dyer, going to be tougher.
Absolutely, even the tunnel out doesn't work right now in this very, very difficult game. Swatter now, instead the survivor that's going to be in chase, and he faked going into the tile there. Very, very nicely done. Where this hitbox came from is something to be answered later on as well, but Swatter now injured. Yeah, it's a little bit clunky sometimes, but we do see that Swatter decides to go as HMap Andy to the corner, and this is just a good strategy at this point. You have a lot of time on your hands. You are doing great on the generators. Only one more objective to go, so wasting as much time as possible here is a good way, and there's even the end game coming around now as well. This is tough. 2 stages. We need 6 more in the end game. We do have No One Escapes Death, but we do not have anything to block the exit gates, because you have to make a decision for either Know It or No Way Out.
Yeah, now things get tough here because you have to hope that you're able to catch them out of position, maybe them expecting the No Way Out, and instead, if someone's already touched the door, that may give the team just enough of a heads up, right? You would be expecting one end game perk over the other here, and maybe even potentially, oh yeah, that location's already going to be given out here. We can see iPick taking chase back here at the shack, going to be next to that glowy totem. But if there's someone already over there at that door, they should be able to get out here as well, and that should be the Survivor Squad wrapping things up.
That should be the case, yeah, and it looks good, because even if iPick is going down right here, that doesn't really change the score in the way we need it. Also the stun, and look how he's just standing there, asserting dominance with Team Sequence. And this is where these mind games start, right? Asserting dominance now right before going into the tiebreaker. That's why we are here, because Karma is going into the tiebreaker set on the killer side first. We might see Givek straight again on the Wraith, and doing this little mind game, this can affect how the third set is going to be played.
Yeah, and especially because you went into that set there probably pretty confident off of your own performance, right? And then for them to just be able to flip that on their head on the Survivor side, even beat that relatively good performance from trial number 3. This is where as the pendulum swings when it comes to momentum starting to go the opposite way. I can't wait to head into set number 3.
Me neither. The Wraith, we talked about it in Campfire Chat, a great killer for the tiebreaker with all the coordination he forces, with all the team communication he forces. So an absolute brilliant tiebreaker ahead of us. Karma in Sequence with a big fight, 1-1. It's hard to predict who's going to take the win here. So we're just setting it up. You guys are getting a new drink or a little bit of popcorn, and we will see you for the tiebreaker in a few minutes.
All right, let's go ahead and take another trip back into the fog. And before I can even lead all the way into this thing, we found ourselves our first survivor, and then we got ourselves a head-on too.
That reminds me of the previous trial. That was exactly how Sequence opened this. First chase, head on, and they just do it again. That is just a sign of dominance. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, to start it off like that looks really, really good. And now you can even see Givik's going to break away from main building, understanding the strength of it, obviously, but now going to be finding themselves in a pallet space. This is unfortunate, bro.
Yeah, this is now unfortunate, right? You have the head-on stun at the beginning. Now you take the pallet stun right after. So the first minute almost of this game was just taking something from the Survivor team, and that's rough for the start, especially with the pressure of a tiebreaker. Usually you want to have the pressure down, you want to put them in a difficult situation, and instead the Survivor team is just juicing around for 60 seconds, now almost 90 seconds. So we will also see a huge punishment on the side of the generators here. Very confident vault from Swatter, then even just going around this loop, trying to extend it as much as possible. Mind games coming out. Swatter not vaulting with the patience this time. This is absolutely beautiful to watch.
Yeah, this first chase going to be so huge. Unfortunately, though, Swatter does eventually go down, but a really good first chase there, taking quite a bit of time. We already see that first gen popping. Might even be seeing a second popping relatively soon. We know that the gen that we pushed, so I think it was Swatter off of right all the way back at Water Tower, had a little bit of progress on it, so maybe seeing them rotating to finish that, but for now, nice start.
Absolutely, and this is once again, Sequence just played Survivor team against the Mastermind on Coal Tower. They did a very confident performance. Now they are coming in, first 2 minutes, looking confident like this. One generator out, there will 100% be a second generator. They attack Gallows as well, one of the more difficult areas on the Dead Dog Saloon. So really, really in charge of the game, having the pressure down, and if they keep this up, and maybe with the second chase going quite long as well, they will show us a dominant performance again.
Yeah, you can see here though, Givix realizing that they were going to, since they pushed one player off of the gen and they were trying to push them back into that cacti field quite a bit, realizing that you had someone rotating in for the save, which is exactly what happened. And now Givix has the ability to continue with this tunnel out here, try and turn this thing into a 3v1 sooner rather than later. And I think even when we pushed the one survivor into the cacti field, I think we got one of those pallets down as well. And when we talk about a map like Dead Dog, that those resources kind of can be very disparaging, but it doesn't matter if you're just going to start grinding out gens like that. Holy cow.
This is insane. 2 generators remaining now. Adam not even going down the tunnel out, being prevented by Seth coming in, throwing himself in as a resource. We do have 3 injured survivors, so Sequence need to keep an eye on that. We have seen teams in the past that were confident with the body blocking and then it fell apart because the killer was punishing them, but we already see that iPick is receiving the reset now, so Sequence also well aware of the resources they are taking. And this queue, this is why a lot of people handle Sequence as a top 3 team, and why it's surprising that they are on the standings number 8 right now, and it seems like Sequence has no plans on staying down there in the standings either.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why. You had mentioned, right, that their record was kind of more based off of who they had played versus who they are as a team, right? And even though that they've gotten pushed around a little bit to get into this tiebreaker set, really kind of showing some dominance here and showing why they've been a team that you and I have talked about when it comes to competitive DBD for quite some time now, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Sequence being a known team, they have a lot of experience against different killers, and you can see it right here. They don't struggle at all. They have the good coordination as well. iPick taking attack now. In the meanwhile, we do have the unhook and instantly back, trying to go after Swatter here, trying to force a more pleasant condition as quick as possible. But it seems like our killer realizes that he doesn't have time for that anymore, switches the strategy now, trying to get as many fresh hooks in as possible. And Q, considering how confident Sequence looks, that might not be a bad plan here.
Oh, has been able to find Swatter.
Oh!
Okay. Oh, but he hadn't fully uncloaked, otherwise he would have been able to finish things off there. We do see, though, now going to be fully uncloaked here, trying to work around the wagon. But, of course, with Swatter still being injured, once they go down onto the ground, able to be removed from the trial, we do see a reset happening across the map here onto Exise. The question becomes, can Givix get this down before we see a 4th or maybe even potentially a 5th gen pop? Since the resets have all come in, it probably means only 1 gen potentially getting close to resetting here, so are getting complete, I should say. So that's good news for Givix, but oh my goodness, you should know by now not to be trying to chase the Atom out here in the fog. Absolutely serving the juice.
Swatter is just insane, playing out of his mind here. A double vault as well, just casually going down now, but for the price of another generator. This is going to be hook stage number 3 for Givx, but iPick's, Exise, and Seth will work on this final objective, and they are not far away from taking the exit doors here on the Dead Dog Saloon. That's going to be goodbye to Swatter after an insane performance here, really working a lot for his team. Survivors leaving early, realizing that the killer would come, and there he is in the locker, going for another head-on. This is just so beautiful to watch.
Oh, I love the head-on plays. I've been a head-on enjoyer for quite the time now, so to be able to seeing them really come, those plays coming out more and more in competitive DBD, I am all for it. But we see Givix not going to take the chase over here at the main building, and understandably so. We also know we've been able to get some of these resources out of the way when it comes to the rest of the map, and knowing, kind of like we had mentioned earlier, Dead Dog doesn't exactly give you the most resources, but Givix now has to worry about where the 3rd survivor is, because if you're worrying about 2 over at main, there's plenty of time to crank out this last gen, and you can see it's iPick who's already starting to work on this gen over here.
Now we do see that iPick is rotating over towards the main building once again. Fake this little pallet here, really great as well. We'll take the tag and the speed boost and just goes towards the main building. 3 stages still, and Givx doesn't have the time anymore to go for any of these chases. He has to go for the generators because, for good reason, he's very afraid of them to pop, and Sequence just leaving another greeting in.
I love the blast mine. You know, it's especially back when the gen kick meta was the thing. It felt like just the best like revenge against the killer. So to be able to get that little additional stun here, unfortunately, as far as on the side of Givix Dire, they don't really have themselves a good gen spread to play into here in the end game, right? You were able to get yourself someone out of the trial, so now it's a 3v1. Unfortunately, part of that is getting reset. Over here at the main building, Givix has been able to locate the reset, but not before the reset does get complete, or at least half of the reset getting complete here. But now that means you do take this chase over at the main building. Big old tile to try and work around. But question becomes again, where's that third survivor? So Givix has to Givix up their chase here.
Yeah, he has to find him, and there's Exiles lurking at the generator right here. So great game sense from Givix as well, going always in the right moment back towards the generators, catching the survivors that are waiting there already. Now trying to cut the survivor off through the main building. We do see that Seth and iPick were trying to set up a heal here, so Seth is going to take attack as well, and slowly Givix is winning back the control over the Datok Saloon again.
Yeah, I think right here is a really good display of what keeping an even head can really do for you over on that killer side, right? Things weren't looking the best, Dire, let's be honest. You've given up 4 gens, you've only been able to get 1 person out of the game, but now you're able to get yourself another fresh hook. Might be able to potentially use this Scourge hook to be able to give yourself a little bit of regression on at least one of these generators. And since the other 2 players are injured, they will need to reset. It gives you some time to kind of regain control of the map.
And this control is now clearly visible, right? You have a hook stage. The survivors cannot really go confident on the gens anymore because both of them are injured. So they need to take the time for a reset. At the same time, Seth is already back in the next chase here. So absolutely great work by Givix. Karma now getting a way better result, getting the stun here, but Seth still kind of zoned at the outside of the Datok Saloon, taking the vault. That's going to work out. Givix needs to watch out that this chase doesn't take too long. He tries to go for the swing, but that doesn't work out. Great patience here by Seth, and he has to leave him in the corner of Datok Saloon, and that might turn out very punishing here.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you had to be concerned about this gen that was right by this hook, and especially seeing as there's Sloppy Butcher in play, you'd probably assume that, yeah, they're just going to stick the gen. That's exactly what happens. 5th gen now getting complete. Survivor's going to jump into the locker here. Will force the grab. You can't just simply go for the slug here if you're Givix, and you don't have anything as far as helping in the end game either. But 2 injured survivors means they do have to be wary of where the door location is. Actually, rather friendly doors here for Givix as well.
No, he doesn't get it in time. Unfortunately, though, because especially how he came back with gaining pressure and gaining control, I feel like he deserved a little bit more than 6 stages. But the result, at the same time, the 6 stages still paying the price for the insane pressure that Sequence put up early during the trial here. And they even go for the rescue queue. That is unexpected.
I'm confused. I guess the hope was maybe that they were going to just go after the tunnel out, but now you've got a player who's worth so many points, doesn't have much available. I mean, there's the thought process of there being that's so greedy, and unfortunately it's not going to pay off for him.
Yeah, and the question is it the right decision to try something so risky when we are talking about the tiebreaker, right? We're not talking about dropping a set and coming. This is a 10-point swing. This is 3 losing points for the non-escape on iPick, and then 7 points awarded for the killer for the kill. So that's a 10-point swing right there, and we are in the tiebreaker set. And we remember, usually the Wraith actually a very powerful killer with a lot of 4Ks because of the confidence that is needed, because of the communication and the tactical planning that is needed. So taking 6 stages was feeling really good to me.
Yeah, I guess maybe the thought process is if you pull it off and the morale on the other side having to come out and meet that is so low, but now it almost feels like it works in the inverse. The morale feeling that they just you gave them almost a get out of jail free card, it felt like. So going to be interesting here to see how things play out, but it is going to continue to be close the way it's been thus far through 5 trials here.
Yeah, we have to look if that's going to work out. Right now, I feel like Karma gained more confidence from it than Sequence actually did with their plan. So it's tough. 10 points lost for Team Sequence. There's still a good result with 2 outs. We're going to find out who's taking this best of 3 after a short break. Welcome back, everybody. This is the final trial that holds the decision. Karma or Sequence? Who's going to take the best of 3? And the Sequence tag doesn't work out. You better don't try the strategy that Sequence just pulled out twice. That was such a good read by Excise. I hope that is going into the archives right there. What a beautiful read here onto Karma, and that's also instantly the injury onto Givex, who's now in a difficult situation, and I hope that a team member is coming over, because a down that quickly could have a lot of difficulties.
And he respects the pallet, which allows for Givex to be able to build so much distance here. Now makes it to the little TNL area, and he reads it so well. So even though Givex had a little bit of a struggle early and gives up that very early hit, now able to prolong, make a little bit out of nothing. There's that teammate that you were looking for right there, Dire. And I would imagine we will see both of our injured teammates now trying to take heed over towards the cacti field, realizing that this is where the corrupt generators are, trying to see if they can buy enough time for the rest of the teammates here. Great job by Xyz to not fully recover or reveal themselves, allowing themselves to break those pallets a little bit quicker here as well. And even though this first down taking a little bit longer, I'm really starting to get worried about the dead zone that can start to be created in this middle of the map, Dire.
This is now going to be Givex going down way longer or way later than originally expected here. Really good recovery from that original find in the locker. Now going to end up in the gallows area. A difficult setup on the Dead Dog Saloon. Usually with the 3-gen that's the case. Right here, being hooked right inside of it is a huge benefit for Sequence, and usually you don't want to end up in this area. So the mission now for Team Karma is saving Givex and then very quickly getting out of here.
Yeah, you can see he got 1 gen just about ready to go. Actually, 2 gens just about ready to pop. So you are pushing back quite a bit here if you're the survivors. You do have to worry about the safety of Givex, though. You can see trying to take heed over towards the main building. Not going to be able to get away. Not going to be able to get the stun here either, which just in turn starts to create more of that dead zone. And Dire, we have to remember that this side of the map, this is where that corrupt intervention was sitting, right? So if they start throwing more of these pallets with reckless abandon and you get another hook over on this side of the map, the end game starts to look a little desperate as far as for the survivors here.
Yeah, this is... I'm trying to figure out already how Karma has played, because if he's going all the way into this hook right here, you are in the absolute deep side of the area of the Dead Dog Saloon, inside of the 3-gen. That's going to be really rough. We just talked about it. It's necessary to pull out of this area here, moving the survivor out of the 3-gen, and instead you are now hooked far more inside of it. Yeah, it's great when you do get the generators out right here, and they are efficient. They are proving it right now. We have 50% on these gens already, but if you don't move out of the 3-gen area here, the stages are just going to add up.
He's going to get slugged here, so we're going to be able to see the first down come across. The question is, does Givex have anywhere to get to room? We talked about the dead zones. The pallet on the right, already gone. The pallet on the left, already gone. The shack pallet, also gone as well, which means you just have a player that can throw themselves here to create a little bit of additional space. And now you have so far to go, because the middle is also a dead zone. You do see, though, Givex makes their way all the way towards the main building. Going to be able to get towards this portion of the map that we haven't taken chase yet. Can you get to the pallet? Forces it down. Now, I think he would have been able to lunge through. Oh, still gets the down, though, regardless.
Does get the down. Yeah, Givex unfortunately vaulting 1 time too often. That's the 3rd generator, but unfortunately still not the generator we are looking for in the outside of the Dead Dog Saloon. Kilade receives that heal, but we do see the elimination coming through. 3v1 scenario now. Excise in a good spot. You do have the 3-gen, especially on 3 survivors. A setup like this is incredibly difficult to break. Yeah,
especially Dire. You know what actually works even more in Excise's favor, I just realized? with that last chase, you tried to see Givix try to build a little bit of additional space, right? But what ended up happening is Givix dies in the top right-hand corner of the map. So what that means is now still you have all of the hooks in play over where this game's going to end. Whereas if they would have died within the cactus field, they could have actually still been able to kind of position where they took those chases. So now this next down, especially because you're chasing an injured trauma here, is very, very crucial.
Absolutely, and there's the next one onto trauma now. More far away from this, but still you will be carried back towards the midsection at least. So Axa is still close towards the generator setup, a way better position for trauma than the previous one, but Axa is immediately heading over towards this 3-gen right here. Will he be able to find one of the survivors? There's the greeting now from Karma, just revenge for the previous trial. Trauma already unhooked. I liked how quick Karma is now with getting the to-do list done, checking the locker here as well, especially these outside lockers are quite a good hiding spot for the survivors that are trying to get their hands onto these difficult generators, but it seems like Karma is pulling it slow, and it looks like they're going for the reset here.
Yeah, the tough thing though, Dyer, I don't know if you've realized how those gens are sitting over on the cacti field. Not just the 3-gen, but also the 4th one that's sitting within the middle of the map, just on the other side of Shack there, right? And remember earlier, we talked about the dead zone that was created very, very early within some of those filler pallets in the middle of the map. And knowing that the win condition is getting closer and closer as far as with these hook states coming in, can I get a little bit of value from that eruption as well? Snatching them up out of the locker here, should be able to move them towards this gallows hook as well. That is now going to be hook state number 5. It's another fresh hook, which means you're getting those crucial points.
We already saw the survivor leaving there very early. Karma now more aware of the consequences of being hooked inside of the 3-gen, but Axa is once again in a beautiful position. You can just watch the hook right here. You can keep an eye on the generators. Karma not able to consistently stay out of the dangerous area, and they are paying the price for it. 5 stages already. We are looking towards 8, I believe, for the win condition. So it's just rough, and now the injured survivor moving in. Not the best idea either, because Trauma will just face a rehook. So if it stays like this, Sequence is just happily going to take the 2-1 here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you kind of need a miracle. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, right? But you got to remember, there were stages that got out the door in the last part, in the first half of this set here. And the fact that you're already down to a 3v1, you've already got 6 stages as well. Trauma, 1 stage away from turning this thing into a 2v1 as well. It, wasn't looking the greatest early, but Sequence just sticking to doing what they do best. And that's just, making sure they grind away for those dubs, Dyer.
Now we will see that our Kate is facing the killer once again here at the main building. She's busy, she can't attack any generator. And now, I was about to say, it doesn't surprise me if Axize would just go back here, camping out the survivor on the hook, 50% on this generator, but we will cut it down to 2 survivors in a second here. Axize now with a good reason to camp, the other survivor not even on a generator, so the time not being used efficiently, and I think Sequence now close to the win condition, feeling very, very strong. He will move over, catch Kilade that was working on this generator here, and then Sequence is ready to take it home.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, what is it that you do here if you're Karma to try and pull home the dub? You have to still get 4 stages out. I mean, with 2 gens still needing to be complete, 2 people left in the game. Such a tall ass. I don't even think you can make an end game play. So, yeah, I mean, just Axize doing a good job of, just continuing to trek away in this trial, and I mean, kind of just really putting on a clinic of just being able to play it patient here in this last trial.
Now Kilade on the difficult pallet here just drops it down because Axize was going to respect it. He gains a little bit of distance, is moving up the stairs, but I doubt that's going to be enough. And Eruption also kicking in now, so you have information of that final survivor, and watch this beautiful aura effect now as well. Yeah, buddy, you can walk. It won't really help you. Axize is right off you, and Q, that looks like going towards a 4K here.
Yeah, you know what, Chad? I'm not sure what resolution y'all are watching this thing in, but that does indeed look like a 4K to me, as long as we're going to be able to sort of cure our slugs. And this is what you're talking about at the end of last trial, right? You get yourself a couple of stages out, and even though maybe took some risks, handed over a little bit more points, knowing that this is kind of more the traditional of what we see here on the Dead Dog Saloon, and you have a little bit of hang time as well to find this last slug. Honestly, what a great series here from start to finish.
Absolutely. Karma and Sequence with a great battle. Unfortunately, Karma falling a little bit short on the Dead Dog Saloon here, but they have taken a set, and that is more important than you think, right? Because all these set points are still being considered in the standings, still might make the needed difference towards the end when you want to move into the playoffs. So really, really good work here by Karma to take at least one set point once again, which against a strong team like Sequence and how they look today is more of an achievement than it looks like.
Yeah, and I think too, also when you're on the side of Karma, you had mentioned how maybe for them heading into this and where they were sitting in the standings, maybe hadn't seen themselves face like the best competition, like whereas Sequence has faced some of those teams that are at the top. But to be able to know that you took this fight to Sequence has to let you know that if you just kind of keep putting things together, that when you have those bigger matchups a little bit later in the season, you have something that you can build on, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and we have to say it again, right, to make it clear or to look at the entire context. Karma was playing Eternal, Elysium, and Sequence back to back in the last 3 weeks. That is tough. And that is probably the most stacked and difficult schedule you could have. So Karma taking a few sets left and right out of the top 3 teams, or what a lot of people consider the top 3 teams, is a huge achievement. And now Season 8 starts with the more medium team, not with the favorite teams, not with the ones that are dominating the sets left and right. So Karma, with the confidence they took, might absolutely shine from now on.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see, especially as this season goes on. I mean, and we've seen it before, too. Sometimes you have those teams that are knocking on the doorsteps. You take a set here and there, and then all of a sudden, it just clicks, Dyer, right? We've seen it time and time again when you have teams that stick together. So knowing that we still have a little over half the season left, I can't wait.